Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Tech Protection. Today I'm joined this game by Adam and Fluff.
How's it going, everyone?
What's up, people?
In today's matchup is Adam versus Fluff. Adam has brought us Ultimate Zamasu. Deck just recently came out, and he's kind of the first one in our shop to kind of really bring it to the table. And Fluff has brought back Xeno Syn Shenron. It's like always, buttons. Guys, get into it.
I think we've seen. I was going to say, I think we've seen Xeno Syn. So why don't you start out talking about the Ultimate deck?
Yeah, so Goku Black, one of my favorite characters. So I really like the idea of energy destruction. There's a lot of folks out there that are, kind of going the tragedy overground route with this, because that's what came with the expert deck. I'm going a little bit of a different route. I'm trying to kind of stall until I can get enough energy to start throwing down some EX Evolve targets that will basically nuke the energy from my opponent's field. And this was like my first round with it. So already just in this first night of matches, I've seen some ways that I can change it, and I'm excited to continue to kind of have it evolve.
Excellent. I can't take full credit for this list. I took a lot of inspiration from Kyle Chris's list for Xeno Syn. I had tried a couple times to make this deck work, and I couldn't just find a list that really stuck with me. So when I saw his list, I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot. And I was pleasantly surprised. It doesn't seem like it mills a ton at first, but once the engine gets going, it can mill a ton.
How quickly does the new Ultimate deck kind of ramp, or at least your take on it? Or not ramp, but draw?
It draws quite a bit. There are quite a few cards in there that will allow you to search top 5 or top 7. I run a couple of time rings as well, which is really nice because Goku Black allows you to ramp from life for the turn, which allows you to get up to the condition on time ring that allows you to pull 2 Zamasu or Goku Black cards from the top 10. So it's a really nice way to search for your super combos. Or some of those other pieces that you need.
I know when I talked to Jimmy in his matchup against Austin, which is a cooler mill deck, very similar to this one, his strategy in that match was you search early and get what you need as soon as possible. That way for the rest of the game, it doesn't matter what happens. You have what you need. Was kind of the mindset?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you want to try to find your pieces early. In my case, I am running the field mass replication, which allows me to create a shadow clone token that has blocker and cannot attack, which is really a nice way to stall, which I haven't seen in anybody else's lists.
I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out what my charge targets are going to be. The key to milling in this deck is the extra cards that float throughout the deck. So charging extra cards feels kind of bad depending on what the context of your hand is going to be. But there's a lot of floating effects that occur when you're using this deck. So you have to make sure you have cards that'll proc those floating effects. Otherwise, your hand can just dwindle in size. So it's especially in the first couple turns, it can really be a balancing act trying to get your hand, your charge, and everything set up.
So as a quick reminder, what does this Unison do again, and why is it so important to this deck? Because this leader has blocker when it's awakened, so it protects this Unison, right?
Yeah. So the +1 on the Unison is draw a card and then place 1 card from your hand, and then up to 3 cards from your 3 extra cards from your drop back into the bottom of your deck. And then also the Unison has an auto where when you activate blocker on your leader, you get to add a marker. And then it's got a -7 to play a bunch of dragons out from the drop area. But that never happens. The more important piece of the Unison is going to be the side of the back side of the leader, where you get to Spirit Boost to activate an extra card.
So this is the new Zamasu from the Ultimate deck. You want kind of touch base on it?
Yeah, so this is an indestructible when your leader is a Goku Black, maybe Zamasu as well. There's a lot of cards that have, whether your leader is a Zamasu or Goku Black. But it's essentially a blocker, 15k blocker, that allows you to Z stack a Goku Black underneath it. When that Goku Black is underneath, then it gives the Zamasu an extra 15k. Which isn't really relevant because it already has indestructible. But when you're going up against things like yellow that kind of nukes the skills from cards, it does give it a little bit of extra protection. So it's a 30k instead of 15. But as soon as I can get that out on the field, there's a couple of other cards in the deck that kind of play off of that and get extra little trinkets after.
And now I'm looking at it. I did earlier state that this was a Zamasu ultimate deck. I was definitely misspoken. It's just Goku Black. I'm so used to Goku Black always being Zamasu on the other side or some form of combination. I really haven't had a chance to look at the ultimate deck itself. But yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and that's really one of the. I kind of build decks in my own way, so I didn't want to. I include very little Zamasu in this deck. It's mostly Goku Black, which is one of the reasons that I like running that mass replication if I can ever freaking find it in this game. But I like to try to keep my decks with a theme, and it's Goku Black for this one.
To point out, Oceanus in Xeno Shenron, the deck that it's actually made for, is really nice because Oceanus is typically a -2 in hand advantage when you play her, because you play her and then you have to discard. But in this deck, when you play her, you get to scry the top card. If it's a Shadow Dragon, add it to your hand. Then if you discard a Shadow Dragon by her effect, you can then, on that Shadow Dragon, scry the top card of your deck. If it's a Shadow Dragon, add it back to hand. So it's hand neutral advantage in this deck.
Which isn't bad at all compared to what we normally see it as.
And I've played enough mill decks to know that, if the Oceanus comes down, don't take the challenge unless it's the last turn and you're gonna be able to close it out.
Yeah, people were really afraid of this Oceanus all night. There was a game against Nick, and I Oceanused him 4 times back to back to back, and he just passed all 4 turns.
Oof.
Which was nice because I got to set up, I had set up. Here, you saw that I whiffed that scry, which kind of sucks. You only run 5 cards in the deck that aren't Shadow Dragon, and that's the 4 Unisons and then the Secret Rare. So seeing those on your scries is kind of, it's just not fun.
Is your Secret not a Shadow Dragon?
No, the Black Smoke is not considered a Shadow Dragon.
Okay. All right.
Neither are the 2-drops Black Smoke Dragons, which is why I don't include them in the main of this deck.
Yeah. So I see Adam's managed to get his one of in a 53 card deck, probably.
Yeah, I actually have this. This is a skinny deck. It's only at 50 cards.
Oh, wow.
My latest iteration. Fluff and I talked a little bit about it. I did get it up to 52. I'm going to see if I can break it back down, but made some changes to it. So you guys will get a chance to see that if I'm on camera another time. But yeah, what I'm essentially trying to get to a place where I can Z Awaken, because Z Awakening is fun. And it'll allow me to stop taking life from my ramping. So Fluff and I also talked a little bit after the game that I probably should have been going for face instead of going for Unison. But anytime I see a -7 or -5 on Unison, I figure it's going to be bad. So I don't want to let it get there.
This Unison, I've never activated the -7 although, because you're not trying to kill your leader. You're not trying to kill your opponent. You're trying to build them out. So playing the -7 is just a huge waste. I end up sequencing the next couple of turns wrong. I think I have 7 Shadow Dragons in the drop area, and I didn't awaken. And you'll see I kind of burned myself out of being able to awaken with this next turn coming up.
Is it naturally 4 or is it like 3?
It's 4. It's when your life is at 4, or you have 7 Shadow Dragons in the drop area.
Gotcha. Which, yeah, I do believe by this point you do have plenty.
Yeah.
So, I think I saw you comboed one of the 2-drop Smoke Dragons off earlier. Or was that another promo one?
That was the promo that lets you. It's a negate, but it also tutors out your secret rare.
Gotcha.
So you're running 4 of those, which basically gives you 5 copies of your secret rare over the course of the game. And to play out the secret rare, it costs you 5 energy.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So here I'm just trying to survive the onslaught, taking what I can, doing what I can.
And I'm trying to get him to activate that blocker so that I can try to hit that Unison with a double strike from Boo. But he's, Fluff's a really good player, so he didn't take the bait. So now I'm swinging with another little 10K, and I'm like, all right, well, we got to go with it. So
you did mention earlier, like when you see a Unison for -7 or something that like dramatic, like, oh crap, that has to be a threat.
Yeah,
that's a lot of attacks you did just sink into it that you could have just swung into his leader and potentially caused more damage to him than his Unison could have to you.
Absolutely.
And I think, like Fluff mentioned earlier, there is a sparking on this leader, but I'm sorry, not a sparking, a spirit boost, but it's only on the awakened side, I think.
It is only on the awakened side.
So if I was saying this, if you had looked at the backside, you would know that, if he wanted to maximize his deck, he won't probably get to 7,
What I should have done in this turn is I should have spent an energy on, like, say, an extra card, milled him 1, awaken, and then played this. Because you have to warp 7 cards out of your drop to do this. So I'm going to lose the ability to awaken offensively here.
So remind me exactly, because you went and tapped your whole thing. Does the card just pull it and I'm just playing it anyways type thing? Is that what just happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the card plays the black smoke from the deck. But now I don't have enough Shadow Dragons in the drop to awaken.
Yeah.
So I sequenced this turn wrong, and I'm really debating on, do I blow up the field or do I make Adam draw or warps or mill 7 to his warp and that I draw 2? And I decided ultimately the better choice is to go on ahead and try to mill him out, in the hope that my Shadow Dragon gets to stick around again for another turn. This Shadow Dragon doesn't have any type of protection, so it's very common to only get 1 turn of effects off this Shadow Dragon.
The bright side against Adam right now is that the Boo Unison's effect is only when you swing with a battle card. If I recall correctly, you could proc the -1 to pop a battle card. So you did swing a battle card, so you keep it on turn for that long, but in his energy, we do see the Rose Goku Black, which I think can just pop that Shadow Dragon naturally.
100%.
Which is an activate battle to do.
Well, it's got to be 4 or less for the.
Oh, it has to be 4 or less?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember.
And that was something that was consistent with a lot of these cards in the Goku Black deck, is a lot of them only hit 4 or less. There's one, like, 5 drop, I think, or 9 drop that'll pop anything, but for the most part, it's 4 or less.
Now, because I am at 4, I'll go on ahead and get to Awaken. And I'll be able to activate the Spirit Boost to play this card, which is a secondary floodgate in the deck. So he's only going to get 1 more battle card swing.
And my deck is getting thin.
And plus, it's going to mill him too, off the leader effect and the extra card effect itself. This deck is actually really good at protecting itself, and it's really good at finding super combos. So I think at this point I have 3 or 4 super combos in hand that are just ready to defend myself. Or if I feel like the leader or the Unison is getting a little thin on markers, when I Spirit Boost, I can discard a super combo and add a marker back to the Unison. So it's a net 0 loss on the super combo.
And here I decide to spend 4 energy and 2 Z energy to play an Android 21. Going to try to put some stuff underneath it. I have a SSB Vegito to put under there to give it triple strike.
That's the go-to, really. It's just grabbing the 5-drop from your Z deck and then giving it triple strike.
And it does let me get that black smoke out of there.
Yeah, because choose one of your opponent's cards as well, right?
Yep.
Which was a really nice play because he was 100% dead without. If that Shadow Dragon had stayed on, or that Smoke Dragon had stayed on the field one more turn, he was 100% losing the game as soon as he passed his turn.
So the question is, are you going for leader or are you going for Unison right now? I assume you're going for leader, just trying to get down below 3. You go for the triple strike afterwards.
Yeah, I may only have a handful of cards left. It may be 3 or 4 cards that I have left in my deck at this point.
Yeah, I really like the way this Syn Zeno deck functions now that I've kind of like played with a list that works really well. It's actually really smooth and it's incredibly defensive. And if you look at the field that Adam has a really scary field.
Yeah, there's a couple of there's a 20k crit in there, that big Android 21. So if I can survive, we'll see what happens. Fluff, do you feel like the Xeno Shenron is good in like the Z battle kind of format? It doesn't look like you're charging a lot of Z energy.
The Z battle cards are like, I guess the Boo is kind of nice, being able to just eat up a potential threat that might be on the field. But other than that, I feel like Black's pull of Z battle cards are kind of lacking compared to every other color, except for that.
Yeah, the Boo is probably the best one of them all because it's also an additional way of just getting a free removal. Like, because the effect of the card increases power to 25, so that's a useful with it. Or if you choose to keep it as a blocker, if your opponent doesn't go after it or combo above it just to kill it off when you block with it, then initially the next turn you just do the effect again and just get another card off their field. So it kind of like derails their attacks to go to that Boo, or at least find a way to remove it, and then they continue the turn afterwards.
And there's the last mill.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of being able to activate the extra cards in my hand and get those out. And, a lot of people are like, Xeno Syn doesn't do a whole lot, and they're right, it doesn't do a ton, but look at how many cards are in my hand. And of those cards in my hand, there's a ton of super combos, there's a ton of negates, and there's a ton of floodgates. So the deck doesn't do a lot, but it's really good at extending the game into late reaches.
Which is what you want to do with a deck like that.
Yeah.
So with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Keep in mind there's buttons down below, links in the description. Check them out. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.